Assalamualaikum, I'm Muhammad Ibrahim.
And I am Muhammad Nur Amni.
And I am Muhammad Abi Shafari.
I am Nur Wajiha. I am Nur Emilia. I am Wanur Ain.
And we from Group 1. And in this video, we shall review on Prejudice Part 5 by the Lady O'Brien.
Well then, let's get into the introduction. The genre of this book is Southern Gothic. Southern refers to a story that is held in Southern America, where Gothic refers to lifestyle architecture prevalent to the Europe in 18th until the early 20th century. Combining both elements, and we get the Southern Gothic, which is a literature that is heavily influenced by the Gothic element in the American South. It refers to strange events, eccentric characters, and containing moody and unsettling deception of life. The author of this book is Flannery O'Connor, who is famous for her sadistic Southern Gothic style and often includes Roman Catholic, morality, and ethnics in her works. Sadly, she died in her 40s due to a disease called lupus, where her immunity system detects her own body as a threat, making her lifespan by year to year decreasing. The book published in 1955 by a company called Harcourt, Brace and Company. This publisher is an American publishing books, mainly fiction and non-fiction books suitable for kids and adults.
There are three themes for this short story. The first one is finding grace. Extraordinary circumstance can allow the selfish character, as example the grandmother, to truly understand the meaning of grace. Like in the beginning of the story, the grandmother is a very selfish and judgmental person. She always criticizes about everything, including her son's parenting. For the second one is prejudice. The grandmother's worldview is shaped by her deeply prejudice, which has ultimately challenged her during the encounter with the misfit. She always priding herself and her heritage as a Sultan lady, and always making reference to a good blood. As example, during the family faced with the misfit, the grandmother thinks that the misfit is come from the good blood like her, and that the misfit never hurt her. But that's totally wrong. And the last one is family. The meaning of kinship is explored through the dysfunctional family. We can say it because during the beginning, the grandmother attempts to manipulate the family to go to travel to her destination of choice. However, during the final moment, the family success to demonstrate an affection to each other that they failed to exhibit during their ordinary life.
I will explain about the plot summary of this short story. At the beginning of the story, Bailey decides to depart to Florida despite of the grandmother's preference to visit her connection in East Tennessee. She also told Bailey about the runaway murderer. In the story, the author said the children are very disrespectful about the parents and their state. They naming Tennessee as a hilly-billy dumping ground and Georgia as a lousy state. On their way to Florida, they stopped at one of the towers for having their lunch and made its owner, which is Red Sammy Butt. The guy who mentioned about a good man is hard to find, but having a little respect to his wife. Then they continued their trip to Florida, and the grandmother remembered about the house she used to visit when in her childhood. Then the children got excited about it.
Continuing their road trip, the grandmother recalls about a plantation that she used to visit as a child. She exaggerates about the geographical details there on the plantation to garner attention. Of course, it's not surprising that nobody would care. She had to use her wild card, that is to lie. She bluffed about that there is a house in the plantation that hides silver treasures. Her grandchildren fell to her decepting words. John Wesley insisted his father to visit the plantation. The grandmother directs Bailey through a dirt road to get to the plantation. It was at this moment that she noticed she had made a big mistake. The plantation was in Tennessee, not in Georgia. The second-hand embarrassment causes her to stir, making Pity Singh, the cat, to come out of her bed. Pity Singh clings onto Bailey's shoulders, distracting his driving. The car then crashed. A few minutes later, a black automobile pulled off. 3 men popped out of it. Bailey explains the predicament that they've just had, hoping that these 3 men would help them, and assumed to be leader of one of those 3 men was only wearing skinny jeans and was holding a gun. The grandmother somehow thought that the leader looked somehow familiar. "You're one of the misfits," the grandmother yelled. "It would have been better off if she didn't know," replied the misfit. The misfit leader then instructs his 2 assistants, Bobby Lee and Hiram, to bring Bailey and his son into the woods. A few minutes later, 2 gunshots were heard. The grandmother yelled, "Bailey!" Bobby Lee and Hiram came back from the woods, while one of them was wearing Bailey's clothes. The misfit then offered Bailey's wife to follow his husband's fate and to bring his 2 other children into the woods. The wife accepted. The grandmother desperately murmurs about Jesus. The misfit then explained the bizarre experiences that he have had, marking who he is today. He says that somehow the authorities own the papers that he killed his own father, even though he has no active memory of it. Screamed, followed by 2 gunshots, were heard again from the woods. The grandmother held on onto the misfit's shoulder and said, "Please, you're a good man. You're one of my children." The misfit immediately shot the grandmother right at her chest. The 2 other misfits came back from the woods, saying it was fun killing all these people. The misfit leader then angrily replied, "There's no real pleasure in life."
Based on the plot summary, I would say that the storyline is not predictable because at the end of the story, all the family members got killed. The story also are far-fetched because we don't know why the misfit have to kill the whole family members.
So for the characters, there are 6 main characters in this story. The first character is the grandmother. She is an elderly Southern woman and Bailey's mother. She is a selfish and judgmental person. She only concerned about her own safety and shows little care for Bailey's and his family. The next character is the misfit. He is a violent escaped convict. He is a man of contradiction as he killed his own father despite complimenting him. He also the kind of person who doesn't take responsibility for his actions. The next character is Bailey. He is the grandmother's son. He also the person who doesn't show any interest in what his family want. He can be described as a classic follower as he shows no real thought. The next character is the mother. In this story, she is a quiet person and hardly speaks. Her only purpose in this story is to look after the children. In contrast to grandmother and Bailey, she is a selfless person. The fifth character is June Star. She is the Bailey's daughter. She is a rude little girl who is ready to say anything to anybody. She also doesn't shows any respect to his elders. The last character is John Wesley. He is the little brother of June Star and the son of Bailey. He is a kid who likes to adventure. He also forces his father to go to plantation during the trip. He also a violent and obnoxious kid as he fights with his own sister and kicks Bailey's car seat viciously. So that is all for the characters.
Good Man is hard to find by Flannery O'Connor. After finish reading the storybook, the simplest way to describe the book would be an unexpected surprise. The reason behind that is it took a while to get into the swing of this book, as the aspect of more good is the key factor that is predominant in this book, the author takes time to describe the character for readers to understand the implied message. The aspect is mostly reflected on the misfit and also the grandmother. First thing first, the grandmother has the basic belief that the moral good make people to be good. On the other hand, the misfit clearly elaborates the importance of moral goods and why they are important to the society. Moreover, the characters in this book also typify the Southern Gothic style, in which they are both eccentric and deeply flawed. As for example, the grandmother can be seen as very fussy and also self-righteous. Red Sammy has the chauvinistic tendency, which is apparent. And last but not least, the misfit is an excellent example of grotesque character. However, by the end of this book, I can ensure the readers will be intrigued by the plot twist. Once I realized that the ending is quite terrible, I was fascinated by just how horrible they were to each other. And also, as the book have no sequel, the ending is quite hanging, though there's nothing can be helped with the grandmother's family, but there is no continuous story of the misfit.
So, I would like to rate this book 3 out of 5 is because during the beginning, the plot is a little bit of boring. The author explains a lot of unnecessary things, but with the climax, the plots are getting more better and interesting, and for me, the ending is also unexpected. So, to conclude, this story is about the transformative power of human compassion and grace, transformation between the two characters, which are the misfit and the grandmother. So, I would love to recommend this book to the person who are very curious about the Southern Gothic genre. So, maybe this book is suitable to teenagers because they can take the negativity from this book and change it to the positivity, and also they can maybe apply it during their daily life. So that's all. Thank you.
That's all from us. Thank you for watching.